Page 51, The 12 Days of Christmas. It's a very common piece that's done in Christmas. The more wine or beer I've had to drink, the more fun this is. Otherwise, I really don't care for the song because it's so repetitious. It just, Let's go over it. Look it over. It's 3 pages long. It's actually quite a bit longer than that, but there's only 3 pages of music to deal with. And a lot of that's repetitious. Treble and bass clef, 1 sharp in the key signature. It's either in G major or E minor, because those are the keys with 1 sharp. If you look at the very end, the last measure, you see here, and then this last mess. Well, let's go with a half note. That's a G chord. It's in G major, is what I'm figuring it is. Most songs, not all, most songs will end on the 1 chord, and you can kind of look at that. They don't have to end on the 1 chord, it's just they typically do. And it's a 4/4 time. We have a 1 beat pickup. So I'll cover 1 hand at a time here to make sure I got a fingering that kind of works, that lets me connect all the notes, and I do have some fingering suggestions. Right hand at the beginning, your thumb is here, and if you look, the G, you got 3rd finger here. That puts your hand here. Don't forget the F sharp, it's in the key signature. So it's 4 and 1, 4 and 1 and 2. And then it's a 2-1. Just bring the thumb under. And now we've changed hand positions. Now they want you to come up here so you can go back down. I don't want to go from here to here. I don't like that in measure 2, the end of the measure. So instead of here, I'm going to just use 4th finger, it's there. And then come under and use 1. Now this business of going 4 to 1, you have to be able to do that. It's a bit of a stretch, but if you'll just relax, your thumb will move some. You can move over a little bit, but don't come way over and twist it. No, just relax and let the thumb come across. The trill exercises that I tell you in the video, in the scale videos, those will do a lot to help this to here. But I want here. And then you can do their fingering, 3-1, here. So again, measure 2, 4-1, 3-1. And then for measure 3 at the end, instead of a 2-1, I don't like that because when the 8th notes come up, I got to use thumb again. I'd like to prepare for that. So in measure 3, at the end, I'm going to scrunch up and use 4th finger. That way I'm in position, the thumb's right there. We're going to do that again. I'm going to use that same fingering in this kind of a passage all the way through, because it happens again and again and again. Now on page 52 for measure 12, you'll notice that's in 3/4 time. They changed time signatures, and they can do that. Music does that. The only stipulation there, the requirement there, is it has to be done at a bar line. You can't change time signatures in the middle of a measure. Naughty, naughty. Here. So they changed it for 3/4. Well, when you change time signatures, we're going back and forth between 4/4 and 3/4. We need something common that kind of ties them together. And in this case, it's the quarter note. The quarter note is going to remain the same speed. The difference here is we're only counting to 3 instead of 4. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, we just go 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's all. It's another way of adding syncopation. So here in measure 12, it's 3/4, 1 and 2 and 3, and then 4. And then in measure 13, they went 3. And then here, one of the principles of the fingering style that I use and teach is I don't cross over the thumb if I don't have to. Because I can crawl around and not cross it. Beginner type music, they have you crossing over quite a bit, and that's good. You need the practice. But here, we don't need to cross over the thumb like that. Then measure 13. Instead of 3, I'm going to scrunch up and use 2. So now I can catch all of that in one hand position. I didn't cross over the thumb. So it's 2, and then going on, instead of 3rd finger, I'm going to come down and use 4th finger. You need to be able to do this for 4 and 5 with a note in between. Actually, you need to be able to do it with any 2 fingers. Anyway, So 5, 4. I didn't cross over the thumb coming down either. So it's... In fact, you could use this fingering that I'm showing you for measure 14 back on the other page for measure 3. You could use the same fingering. So go back to measure 2, you're here, and I say 4. Well, that's fine. Just scrunch up and use 5th finger. And now you can... I didn't cross over the thumb there. I crossed over the thumb here. I had to cross over the thumb there. I ran out of fingers. But otherwise, in measure 3, I don't have to cross over the thumb. It's up to you. Find a fingering you like and stick with it. It isn't that one fingering is correct and one is incorrect. It's just different fingering styles. Now measure 18. The 3/4 time. This got repeat signs, so you can play this twice. And then go on. Yeah, the repeat signs change a little bit. It's because of the words, the verses. Let's go over to measure, what, 34 here? Here we're kind of stuck. We got to use 5th finger for both. I'd rather not. I'd like to use 4 there, but I can't because I'm out of position to use 4. It's kind of awkward. I mean, you can, but the fingering in the book is okay. Just come up here. Now use 4 here, and then 5. Crunch up here, and then on measure 38. Rather than 3/1, come all the way up and use 2, and you don't need to cross over the thumb. It's the same fingering we had before. Now on measure 39, here before was 4. Well, the last time, when you've done all the verses and you're done, you can go ahead and stay there and use 2 on that note. This is, again, measure 39. You can go ahead and use 2 on that, because when you go to the 7th ending, the last measure, thumb is, you're fine there. And then for that chord, that mess, well, spell out the chord. It's a B, a D, an E, and a G. The whole chord is this. And so you're doing here, just reach up and use 2 on that. You can move up if you want. I like to stay in one hand position when I reach up. Left hand, what's it doing? Well, it's just got chords. Try and get them down at the same time. That's fine. 5 and 1 is fine. Measure 3, that's an F sharp, a C natural, and an E flat. They don't need the natural sign. It's a natural anyway, but it doesn't hurt having it there. It's fine. Here. And then the next measure, the C stays and the F sharp comes up to G and the E flat goes to E. So it's going to here. That's all. That's the only difference between those chords. And then come back down those again. And you get those chords in a few other places. Put the hands together. When I first put the hands together, I hesitate all over. Don't care. I just want to know when the hands are working here. The fingers, and here, and then here, and here. See, that sounds lovely, but it's supposed to. Here and here. Now lift up. You do it again. Now over on page 52, toward the bottom of the page, around measure 24, it's a little bit different here. You got here, these, and then here, and then here, and then together. You get that? Okay. About the toughest part for putting the hands together. Then I go back through the tricky spots and I work them out, iron them out. Then go through the whole thing and make sure there are no hesitations anywhere. It is a steady beat throughout. You keep it as slow as you need to, doesn't matter, but it must be a steady beat with no hesitations. And once I have that, then I think about the articulation. For the most part, you're connecting it. You can't connect repeated notes, but you do the best you can. And lift up. They have you lifting up here. Well, because they have you moving, that's not really a new phrase. That all should all be connected together. And then staccato. So I would connect all of it in one phrase all the way up to measure 4. Connect it all together. And by using the fingering that we're using, we can connect that measure to connect here. And then you lift up. Lift between the phrases. It's like taking a breath. Do that. Measure 18. Again, the staccato. Now be careful on these staccatos. When you come up like that, you'll tend to accent it. Accent, don't. It's just ba da 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 ba. Just. At the bottom of page 53 in the last measure, you have here, and then you have the SFZ and the staccato. FSZ is that sforzando. That is the major accent. It's the biggest accent you can have on a piano. You just play it with a lot of weight, and because it's staccato, you come off instantly. Let the wrist collapse a little bit. So you're here, and you just come here. Yeah, boom. Don't pound on it. Don't come down and hit it. And let the wrist collapse a little bit. You want a little cushion in there. Don't. It's like taking a hammer and hitting it. No, we don't want that. You cushion it with the wrist a little bit. And you come off immediately is all that's for. Now once I have the articulation sort of under control, then I'll think about the dynamics. Again, they apply to the melody at the beginning. MF is mezzo forte or moderately loud, whatever you think that is. It depends on the situation. This left hand needs to be soft. And all of a sudden, you're soft. Now measure 4, because we're soft, or sort of soft actually, in piece mezzo piano. Sort of the left hand's soft and getting softer. Each of these should be a little softer. How soft can you make them? Don't use the soft pedal, it's cheating. Then mezzo forte again. So forth. So it goes back and forth between mezzo forte and mezzo piano. And the speed, well, again, it depends on how much wine or beer I've had to drink. It's they say slow and jazzy, but don't swing the eighth notes. You see, jazz swing and blues, these kinds of music, generally you would just automatically swing the eighth notes. You just do it. There's no notation for it. You just feel it, 1 and 2. Well, here they're saying jazzy, but no swing. They don't want you to swing the eighth note, so it's got to be even. The jazzy part really comes in from the harmony. When we have all these chords, that's more of a jazzy chord. It's a jazzy sound, and that's where the jazz comes in. The music takes care of the jazzy part. You do the slowly part. Not too fast. Now let's talk about the roadmap for this, because this gets a bit tricky. I already told you about measure 18. You repeat that measure, you play it twice. Measure 34, that's got repeat signs. Well, that one, you're going to repeat however many times you need to based on the verse you're in. So each verse you do, you're going to repeat that one more time to cover all the verses that you've covered so far. So the first time you go through it, you're just going to play it once. That's it, and you go through. But then the next time you do it, now you're going to play measure 33 twice, because now you got 2 verses. It's the second time you've been through it, and then 3 verses and so forth. When you get down to measure 40, or the last line I should say, you see the endings. The first ending, it has a 1-6. That's actually endings 1 through 6. Those are 6 endings all combined together. And then the 7th ending is the other one. They can do that. Obviously they did it, but you have to just follow the numbers. So when the first time you come down on page 53 and you get down to measure 40 on the first ending, you're going to, you see the DS? It says repeat from sign. They're helping you out. You don't need any of that. All you need is a DS. That's it, just DS. That tells you go back to the sign. Remember, DC means go to the beginning. DS means go to the sign. Well, you got to find the sign. The sign is at the beginning of measure 31, up in the second line. So you go back to there. And that's why we have all these verses. So we're going to keep going through this up to 6 times, one for each verse, to get all the verses in. And each time we do it, that in the measure 33, we're going to repeat that however many times we got to cover all the verses we've covered so far. For instance, when I get here, the first time on measure 31, I'm on the 6th verse, 6th day already. That's the first time I get here. I've done the first 5 days before I get here. Those are taken care of before. This is the 6th day here. Then measure 33, I do it one time because it's the 6th. Then I go on. And then I get down to measure 40, it's here. And then I go back to the measure 31. Now I'm on the 7th day. Now I measured 33, now I got to do this twice. One for the 7th and one for the 6th, because when you sing it, you go backwards. That's here. And I go down to measure 40 again for this. And when I go back up to measure 31 again, now I'm on the 8th day, because it's the 3rd time I've done that. Now measure 33, now I got to do it 3 times for 8, 7, and 6, because I'm doing them backwards. I'm going to keep doing this until I get down to the 12th day. When I get to the 12th day on measure 33, that's when I'm going to repeat it for all of those days. I'm going to keep repeating it until I get down to the 6th. And then go on, and then I do the 7th ending here, because here, I'm done, thankfully. That's how the song works. It's a lot of fun when you're just getting, so which day are we on now, and what direction are we going? I'll have a drink, I don't know. Now they've added pedal. You don't really need pedal because this is a fun piece, but we can do the pedal if they want to put. Don't pedal anywhere they're not showing it. So really all we're doing, we're adding overtones and we're connecting these. The problem is it's going to smear up all these 8th notes. But it's overlapping and lag pedal. The notes go down first and then the pedal. And when I change the pedal, it's after I play the notes, so the pedal overlaps the hands just a little bit. Just a speck, not much. Just a speck. So at the beginning, now I have repeated notes at the beginning. I want to connect them, so I'm going to go ahead and pedal the pickup beat here. Otherwise, if they weren't repeated, I wouldn't pedal it. My problem is, like on measure 2, that's too much. I don't want all that. So I'm going to change my pedaling a little bit. And this is what you do. You listen carefully to the sound. If you don't like it, experiment a little and see what you can do to fix it. Well, I'm going to use another style of pedaling, which allows me to connect these chords in the left hand here, because I need the pedal to connect them. And that is, I'm going to pedal just long enough to connect the chords, and that's it. So I play the first chord in the first full measure, and then right before I play the second chord, I push the pedal down and play the chord and lift up. And I do that each time. That allows me to connect the chords. That's all I'm doing. If I do it that way, that leaves the 8th notes in the right hand clean. I still need to pedal the pickup beat because they're repeated. Really what I'm doing is I'm pedaling the last 8th notes. Here. that's all the pedaling I'm doing here. It's very repetitious, so it's the same pedaling each time. Now let's go over to page 53 on measure 34. Here I need the pedal to help me connect these. Here, go ahead and push it down, and it's loud here, so I'm going to want the overtone. Here, and then change it, and lift it up after I play the notes. Now in the last measure at the bottom here, lift it up as you play the last chord, so it's staccato. Here, the hands go down and the pedal comes up. Actually, the hands and the pedal come up together. And that's the pedaling on it. Now you have this page turn, and you need to be able to turn this page without messing up the beat, especially if people are singing to this. How do you do that? Well, the easiest way is to get one of them to turn the page for you. You don't have to worry about it. Otherwise, you got to do it yourself. Well, is there a place, someplace where one hand isn't too busy? If you look at measure 7 and 8, left hand's not too busy. So if you can memorize the last line on page 51, measures 9, 10, and 11, memorize those, you can turn the page sometime during measure 7 or 8. Here. And then you're taken care of. But if you don't want to memorize that much, then what do we do? Well, maybe you turn it on the top of page 52. You see measures, what is it, 13 and 14? Again, the left hand's not doing anything. So there, all you got to do is memorize measure 12 and 13 or so. And you're just playing along until you get to measure 13. And then as you're playing that, the left hand's got time to turn the page. That way we don't have to leave out notes or anything, and we can keep the beat going. So you may have to memorize this. That part. If you can memorize that little bit, we got it made. Now, as far as demoing this, I'm not going to go through all 12 things. I'm just going to go through maybe a couple of times to give you an idea of it, but it's basically that. I just did the last part a couple of times, but otherwise you'd keep going back through for all the verses. And you'll notice there on measure 39, the dynamics, the last time, forte. And if you want, you can slow down, because that kind of makes it fun too. So the here makes it fun too. Hell, I have a drink. All right. Now, one other thing I want to mention, on measures like 26, 36, same thing. You think, well, both hands are playing together here, so both hands are playing melody. And I disagree with that. Because even though the left hand's playing the same note names, you can have harmony being an octave apart. So to me, the melody is still in the right hand. That's what we want to hear. This left hand, even though it's playing the same, it should still be soft. We want to hear the melody, which is the right hand. Other people might say, no, let both hands be the same there. But in my mind, that makes no difference or no sense. So I would leave the melody in the right hand.